Iran does all kinds of things to dance around the simple fact that it's lying, and combining that with this ability to make nuclear weapons pretty quickly, um, we have a real problem. And one of the things that's going to have to happen, and it's not happening enough, is that Iran has to get a signal, particularly from the United States, that any movement toward a bomb will trigger a U.S. military response in addition to an Israeli one. The Israelis may be the kind of, in a sense, the tip of the spear, but the United States will be right there with them, and that Iran will suffer horrible, horrible consequences.
Pakistan's top military and civilian leaders are planning to conduct a national security review over the standoff with Iran. That's after the neighbouring countries targeted each other with missile strikes that have raised the fears of further instability across the region. The caretaker Prime Minister Anwar ul-Haq Kakar called the meeting earlier today after the nuclear-armed nation launched strikes on Iran's Sistan-Baluchistan province, killing, it's reported, 9 people at least. Well, earlier I spoke to David Albright, former weapons inspector in Iraq for the United Nations. He told me about Iran's nuclear capabilities.
It's very hard to figure out what Iran wants. I mean, it doesn't have nuclear weapons now, and in the past, it had a very robust nuclear weapons program. This goes back 20 years, but it ended it out basically out of fear of being attacked by the United States and Britain at the end in 2003. But it didn't give up its nuclear weapons program. In a sense, it went into kind of a maintenance program. And at that time, it really didn't have a way to make the key material you need for a nuclear weapon grade uranium in the case of Iran. But today the situation's very changed. They still have that underground nuclear weapons capability, the capability to make a nuclear weapon, but now they have the ability to produce large quantities of weapon grade uranium, which, looking back, that's really the long pole in the tent of making a nuclear weapon. So today, Iran could make a nuclear weapon if it wanted to in a pretty short amount of time.
You
And
say,
with
David, if it wanted to. What's stopping them then? Why might they not want to?
There's many reasons. Fundamentally, I think they're very worried that they will be attacked by Israel with the support of the United States. Going for nuclear weapons could lead to severe destruction of much of their country. But they also, I think they understand too that a nuclear weapon in their hands is going to change this calculation in the Middle East and perhaps increase and intensify Saudi Arabia's effort to get nuclear weapons. It could lead Egypt to go down that path again. And so they may not want to start that chain reaction in the Middle East, and that causes them to hesitate. Now, what's changed that's making this much more dangerous is that Iran could go for nuclear weapons thinking that it could have some before anyone really notices. In a sense, get them before Israel could attack. And so that's a very different dynamic than we've ever had with Iran. There's always been kind of this warning time that we would have that was seen as maybe a year or more. But now we're faced with incredible tensions and Iran that could move to build nuclear weapons rapidly.
David, you were a UN weapons inspector in Iraq. What does your experience of doing that tell you about monitoring Iran more closely and bypassing the frustrations that the Director General of the International Atomic Energy Agency expressed in Davos just yesterday, saying that the Iranians are being uncooperative and his agency is being held hostage?
It's very clear, and my experience would tell me this, that Iran is not cooperating. It has secret nuclear weapons related activities, secret nuclear weapons activities. It's been lying intensely, and it's refusing to cooperate with the inspectors and trying to weaken the inspectors' ability to see what's going on. Now, that was the situation in Iraq in the early 90s. They fought the inspection effort. They were hiding things. Everything had to be, it was like pulling teeth constantly to get any bit of information. But then Iraq changed. There was a son-in-law of Saddam Hussein that defected, and that led to suddenly Iraq being very open about its nuclear weapons effort. And you could really make progress in understanding it and really getting rid of it. Iran has not done that. And you can really see that they're hiding things. They're trying to undermine the international inspection effort. and we just don't know why. I mean, is it to protect their big lie? They always deny ever having had a nuclear weapons program. It's an incredible lie that they do, even though it's um, obvious to everybody that they're lying. But they maintain that, and maybe they want to continue. They don't know how to, in a sense, climb down out of the tree.
Well,
But
don't they say that they simply want nuclear power, cleaner technology, and also they're a proud country with a great and ancient civilization, and they say, "Don't wag your finger at us. We're a sovereign nation. We will negotiate with you, but we won't be bossed around by you."
oh, that's not the deal they made with the International Atomic Energy Agency. They freely made a deal to commit to a peaceful nuclear program, and the IA is clearly saying you're violating that deal. And so they can wag their finger all they want, but it's just part of a cover story and part of this non-cooperation that Rafael Grossi was alluding to yesterday in Davos. So Iran does all kinds of things to dance around the simple fact that it's lying, and combining that with this ability to make nuclear weapons pretty quickly, um, we have a real problem. And one of the things that's going to have to happen, and it's not happening enough, is that Iran has to get a signal, particularly from the United States, that any movement toward a bomb will trigger a U.S. military response in addition to an Israeli one. The Israelis may be the kind of, in a sense, the tip of the spear, but the United States will be right there with them, and that Iran will suffer horrible consequences. And the purpose, obviously, is to deter Iran from making that decision to
David,
build.
what do you make of the American position since Joe Biden took over, culminating in a loosening of restrictions, of sanctions, and the allowing of Iran to take $6 billion of its own money, of course, in exchange for the release of five US hostages and some British ones?
It hasn't gone well, obviously, and Biden started saying that he wanted to get a longer, stronger nuclear deal. I mean, I think there's wide agreement that the nuclear deal was just inadequate. It bought some time and it could work for a while. It wasn't strengthening the IA inspection effort. It has time bound limitations on nuclear enrichment and various other nuclear activities. And so Biden said, let's make it longer and stronger, and he just hasn't gone well, and they've been weakening the sanctions and trying to give in to Iran. They haven't been willing to support Grossi's effort to kind of confront Iran about its lying, and so I think they failed to accomplish what they wanted and left us in a worse position than we have ever been with respect to Iran.
That was David Albright, former UN weapons inspector in Iraq.